Hi, welcome to the Bolshevik News. Guys, we've been doing a bit of development with the cloud generator. If you want to skip to that part of the video, you're more than welcome. But I want to just briefly talk about some of the comments in the video yesterday that I did. And, I felt there was a little bit rude, some of them. But, I get it, right? You can see straight off that there's 336 people that understand, obviously, that have thumbed up the video, and obviously we had a few that thumbed it down, 30, but that's life. What they don't realise is it's called participation in any case, and YouTube will just see it as active audience. So if they're thumbing it down, it doesn't really matter. But some of the comments do, and you guys know I read all the comments. And yesterday I was trying to get a bit of money raised for the observatory, and it's never gonna. I don't think there's going to be a day where we never do mention the links down there, because at the end of the day, if we're trying to answer questions, then in order to answer those questions, we need to spend money. Unfortunately, when they asked the question at CERN, does the boson-Higgs particle exist? That question cost them, if you watched the video a few days ago I did, it cost them to answer that question £58 billion. So if we want to ask questions like we did a couple of years ago when we first built the TriMag system, is where is the magnetic North Pole right now, then the only way we can do it, guys like me and you, is build the equipment ourselves that monitors it. And as soon as you start to do that, you start to go into development. Now, it cost, like I said, £58 billion for CERN to answer that question. Does the boson-Higgs particle exist? Well, they know it does now because they've found it. But what I'm saying is, guys, they had to spend the money in order to get the answers, get them questions answered. Without spending that money, they would have still been scratching their head, does it exist or not? As well as a lot of other things that they've done with the CERN. This is it, guys. Going back, there was a friend that came and stayed a couple of days. It was nearby hotel, and he says in his comments, I can see that it's business as usual. This guy, a couple of years ago, when he come to see me from YouTube, we hadn't even finished building the TriMag system then. Give me a gold coin, and he said it's probably better if you keep hold of the coin for now, because the time the gold rate wasn't very good, and it was an ounce in weight, so it was worth £700 when you give it me. That gold coin now is probably worth £1,400, and I never sold it. I kept it, and I used the money out my own pocket to develop the TriMag system, as well as some of the donations that was raised. And the reason why I kept the gold coin is because it was a real honour for me, for someone, to recognise what I was doing and give me that gold coin. And I just thought, what, I'm never going to get rid of it. And to this day, I have still got that coin, and I'm just going to give it my son when that time comes, like anyone else would, because it's not the value of the gold, it's the actual fact that somebody, it's like winning an Olympic race. Someone recognised you for how good you was and what you was trying to do, and that's the way I see it anyhow. But there was a few unfair comments, but what I've been trying to show you guys over the last few days is that the only way to get these questions, these answers that we want, is to either ask the organisations for the truth and to share what they've got, and we've already been down that road. We know what they say. You can't have level 2 clearance for that data, so we're not going to find out what they're spending our taxpayers' money on, regardless. They've used the taxpayers' money. They didn't give you a choice in that matter, and still they're not going to give you the answer. And it's the way it is, it's the way of the world. But my point is, I'm trying to justify to you guys that, we can answer these questions, but at what cost is it going to come for us to get those answers? With the TriMag, the cost was heavy to me. Honestly, guys, you don't know how many days I sat at the table with the computer writing the program for the TriMag. getting it wrong, and completely, constantly getting it wrong. I think the only way I managed to succeed in the end was to get it wrong so many times that eventually I found the way to, get it right. And that's why, we got it working now, and it works fantastic. It has worked, touch wood, for 2 years with relatively little maintenance. We've had to replace one of the tracks, but that's been about it. We've also developed a magnetosphere sensor and written the program for that. Again, it didn't take as long as it did to develop the TriMag, but a lot of the work that on the TriMag with regards to programming had done a lot of the work for us with the magnetosphere sensor, and therefore it came along a little bit quicker. And we're now going to build these muon detectors. And let's face it, 6 months ago, we asked the question, what was the condition of these high-intensity regions around the world? Well, when we get a bit more data, we're going to be able to answer that question as well for you guys. We're now just waiting a couple of days, I believe, for the PCB boards, the printed circuit boards, to come, and we can start putting the components together for our first muon detectors. And, again, guys, to ask the question, how much radiation is coming in, the only way for us to find out is to build the equipment. So I know it's tiring for you guys, and trust me, I'm working on other things to, put some more money into this myself, as well as the time I do, and I do put a lot of extensive time in, and my own money as well, guys. And we don't raise, like some people think on this channel, thousands and thousands of pounds. We don't. Simply, we don't. My car I drive is an 05 Golf, and my partner's car's a Fiesta. So, we're not millionaires, and I don't want to be a millionaire from YouTube. I'd like to invent something one day that made me my money. But if money does come in the future, then that's all well and good. But right now, guys, it isn't. And right now, to answer these questions for you guys, I've got to say to you, it's publicly funded, this observatory is, and we don't get money from organisations, and I've explained many times why that is. But I do know that the majority of you guys out there understand. We do get a few people that don't, so I'm just trying to clear it up for them, so that they can see, that we're not making millions of pounds out in an observatory. Very far from it. There's always stuff to buy now, because we're just going from one thing to the next. First question was excuse me, the first question we asked was, where is the magnetic North Pole? We've answered that question, and on the 17th of every month we pull the TriMag data and we process it and we put it up onto the website. The other question we asked was, what is the strength of the magnetosphere? And we built the magnetosphere sensor, and we can now answer that. Over the last 14 months, there's been very little change. However, on a daily basis, it goes up 2 microteslas and down 2 over a range of 2 microteslas. It fluctuates, and it does that throughout the month. So we've answered that question. And the next question is, what was the condition of these high intensity regions all around the world? Well, we put magnetometers out into these regions, and like I say, in a few more months' time, when we've got a bit more data, and so long as the magnetometers aren't being moved around a lot, then we'll be able to have some good data to make some predictions on that, and we'll be able to answer that question. But the question now we want to ask, and because the importance of this question, the question we want to answer now is, how much radiation is inbound on our planet, and how much is it increasing as a result of a grand solar minimum, so a low solar output, and how much is there at specific regions around the world. And the one interesting region I'm looking forward to getting some data back from will be the South Atlantic anomaly. That's the area of lowest magnetic intensity, and there must be a lot of cosmic radiation inbound in that region. So I'm sure that people from South America would be very interested to find out exactly how much, and whether there is probably safer places to be on this planet than in that region, if that is the case. So guys, unfortunately, if we want to ask questions, and we want the answers. We've got to build equipment, and that's going to take time, and it's going to cost money. And if you've been following me with this cloud generator, which you're going to see in a little while on this, I've got 2 clips done for you just to so you can see how we're getting on. But if you've been following us on that, that has been you know, a project that's been going on for a good 8 or 9 months, and before that we was talking about it for a good year. So, you know, we're slowly developing these things so that they give us great results. And unfortunately there is just me here at the observatory, and you know, the equipment is on 24 hours a day sometimes. Well, it is. The Trimag system never gets switched off. The magnetosphere sensor never gets switched off. And you know, it does, like I say, take a bit of time. In any case, guys, I don't want to go on too much, but what I do want to do before I run the next 2 video clips for you is just thank those people that do understand what we're doing, and they do understand that there is costs involved in this, and I couldn't bear these costs myself. So I just want to say big thank you to the support that you guys give. Right, for the other guys, then, you know, I'm sorry if you get disappointed with hearing me ask for funds for a publicly funded observatory. There's just nothing I can do about it at the moment. I don't really want to go down the route of charging people, making it mandatory for the results, because guys, you've got to understand, not everybody can afford a couple of pounds here. And you know, we can just read these comments, and there's a guy down there that I felt very sorry for. You know, he doesn't get a lot of money, and he's suffering with, you know, health problems, and there's no way I could take money off him anyhow. So, you know, I'm not ruthless, guys, but I'm just saying, we all want the answers. And unfortunately, like it did CERN, like it did NASA with the Apollo mission, and all the other scientific programs that have ever cost money, I'm sorry, but if we want the answers, we have to spend the money to get them. And if we want to keep it a publicly funded observatory, then I'm sorry, you know, the public are the ones that have to pay for it. So I'm going to run the video now. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the people that do support us and understand what it's all about. And, you know, I'm just, you know, apologising for those that don't quite clearly see it, you know, the way the rest of us do. So let's get on with the video, shall we, guys? And without any more delay. Pipes connected, as you can see. I've had to disconnect off the Peltier array, and that was because I'm sure that the power pack won't allow so many amps to come through, you know, just 2 single wires. And I think we was pulling probably around about 2 amps with all 6. But I've got the first row, as you can see the ones that have misted up over the back there, and you know, they're running down to about -20, -22 at the moment, and that still isn't enough for what we want. If you remember, we want these down to about -40. But what I am pleased about, I mean, we've got a couple of leaks I've got to take care of on a few of the pipes, but there's, you know, I'm surprised we haven't got more, because if you just look at how many connections we've got on these pipes, you'll see that there's quite a lot. The fan seems to be coping well with the temperature. I'm going to show you now just what temperatures we're achieving. And I know we're going to be getting better than this, but we're at -20, like I said. -22. And if I just show you what the temperature of the peltiers are at the front, with no power going through them, you can see pretty much room temperature around about 25 degrees. But the temperature of the water reservoir is about the same, 25 degrees, and the radiator temperature is also around about the same. So what we know is that the radiator cooling system is adequate enough at the moment, you know, to give us -22. But we've only got 1 Peltier array on this, guys. And what I mean by that is, if we stack another set of Peltiers on the top of these ones, we'll bring the temperature down even more. In a little bit, in a few minutes time, I'll connect one up, but I want to connect this back Peltier array up as well, and see what sort of temperatures we get with the 6 running at the same time. And then we'll put a stack on there. We'll just add 1 more Peltier to the top of that array, and we'll see where we go. And because it's so cold, it's just instantly stuck to it, so I'm going to have to unfree that. But you can see the quantity of water going through there, hopefully, just coming out that one pipe. It's just a good indication of, you know, that we have got water flow. You can see sometimes in this reservoir, you know, you can just about see it there. We're getting a vortex happen, and when we do, it draws air from the top of the tank in there through the pipes. So I'm not sure why I've got that, whether there should be more water in that tank and that would prevent that from happening. But I've got to say, guys, you know, bleeding this system so that we never had no air in it was a bit of a game. It took quite a bit of time. I mean, I've only got that pump running up to 10 volts, as you can see. So I can also adjust the volts so we can bring up the speed of the fans. If we want them to cool a little bit more, we can do that. But what it does do, I noticed, is increase that vortex problem. And then as soon as that vortexes, we seem to get a load of air draw through the system. So there's a couple of teething problems we're having, but we've got something to work on. Like I say, a little bit later on, hopefully I'll include in this video, you know, just, you know, we're getting that happening there. But you can see the air goes straight through the pipes when it does that. It goes, in fact, it draws air all the way through the system when that happens. So just drop the power down to about 10 volts and slow the pump down a little bit. But yeah, I'll get back to work and I'll see what progress we can make. And what we've managed to do is get the temperature down even more. I mean, we was hitting minus 20 with just the first couple of pelters. You can see that it condensates the air straight away, freezes it onto the top of the peltiers. These ones here, this one and this one, are down to about 20 degrees. And what I did is, as you can see, let me just get rid of that. You can see I've added just on. We've only got these activated at the moment. These three here. But what I've done is I've put another one just on top of this one, and that gives us minus 28. And then and what I did also is there's 3 different voltages coming out of here. What I've done is I've give the first peltier underneath 12 volts, then the second one 7.5 volts, or 5 volts I think it is, and then the very top one we're giving it just 3.5 volts, and you know, we're getting some good results. I'm going to show you now with the finger, but you can see just how much air is freezing on this peltier, because the temperature at the moment I believe is about 30 degrees, something like that. So, a bit more than that actually. So I'll just show you these ones. So minus 20, and then with the next 2 peltiers, you know, minus 32. And the good thing here, guys, is I've not really sealed them with the thermal grease properly. So with a bit of installation around this and with the correct amount of thermal grease, we're going to be in business. I think we're going to hit that all important 40 degrees. But I'll tell you now, we don't need it. 40 degrees is overkill. It would just give a little bit better results than that, what we was expecting. But that was the target, 40 degrees. I'm happy with the temperature of the radiator. It doesn't seem to be going up too much, so that it's regulating the actual temperature of the water. I think it was a good idea to add the reservoir, because these pumps come with their own reservoir, but as you can see it's very small. The temperature in there is around about all round 27 degrees. So in there, 27 degrees, and the radiator itself 26, 25, that's not too bad. Then the first peltier is 20 degrees, and then when we add 3 peltiers at 3 different voltages, we get 32 degrees. That will condensate alcohol at that temperature, I know that. And the nice thing about this is that it's maintaining it, not like, you know, the other system we had, and I've had to rape it for its peltiers. But when we was using the air-cooled system, this one, we was getting reasonable temperatures, but eventually the heatsink that we was using was getting hot, and it was just too much for these 2 fans to cope with. Whereas this system, you know, is balancing itself out. Again, I've got a couple of little leaks I want to sort out. Another thing we've got to do, so that we can get these back peltiers running with another 2 peltiers on top of each of all of them, so we end up with a whole, you know, the overall plate size at minus 35 to 40, is we've got to add another power supply, because this power supply just can't handle the demand of the peltiers. I think we're pulling well over 2 amps with this, and you know, there is a little bit more power we can put into the pump and the fans to get them running a bit quicker, and that's all going to help bring the temperature down. You know, all round, all these little tweaks that we give this will just improve the performance. But you know, at the end of the day, guys, we're going to end up with a really nice cloud generator, and I'm sure there'll be a few people on YouTube very envious of this, because when we start seeing alpha particles, muons and cosmic rays all live as they go through the chamber and leave their vapor trail behind, you know, I think it'll be really interesting for us, and that's what we want at the end of the day. So at least we've got the system running. We know exactly what we need now. We've got to order some more peltiers, another 12 peltiers to finish it, and another computer power supply. And once we get that, we can then sort out a couple of these leaks, and then we can concentrate on the little LEDs that go around the top of this peltier array, and we want a nice perspex you know, container, so that we can put that on there, add the alcohol, and watch, you know, for as long as we want, cosmic particles going through it. So not only are we going to be building in the next couple of days the first parts of our muon detectors, because we're only a couple of days away now from them being delivered, but when we get them, we'll have muon detectors globally, and we'll have a nice cloud generator finished, and we'll be able to observe, you know, cosmic rays going through there, alpha particles, and a lot of other subatomic particles as they pass through it. We'll be able to see it, and guys, that will be better than what Brian Cox did when he took, you know, his dry ice up on top of a mountain and got, even so, poor results. I mean, really poor results. This is a little bit more professional than just having a block of dry ice, as you know. And the reason for that is we can view it for as long as we possibly want. Whereas, you know, eventually your dry ice is going to evaporate in, you know, the temperature is going to drop, and you're going to lose performance. This is going to be the all singing and all dancing, you know, cloud chamber. And as you can see, there's a lot to it, but it's like everything else, guys. You know, it's part of the process of development. You know, you try things, they don't work, so you know, you have to make the improvements, and as you go along, you know, you get the desired results, and you know, we're almost there with this, so I'm quite pleased. So guys, I'm going to leave the video here, but as I always do, you know, there is a link down there if you want to support us, the PayPal, and there's the Patreon. And, you know, I'll say what I usually do as well, guys. You know, it's not mandatory if you want to help, but if you want the answers to the questions, then unfortunately money has at some point got to be spent. And we're a publicly funded observatory, and the only way we raise funds is by, you know, at the end of a video mentioning those 2 links. And it's as simple as that. I'll say what I usually do, guys. You have an amazing week, and I'll catch up with you again at some point. Take care. Bye for now.